The billion-dollar hair transplant industry is absolutely terrified you will discover a $3 liquid vitamin that permanently stops senior hair loss and actively forces dead follicles to regrow. They have spent the last 30 years hiding the clinical trials on this cheap, easily accessible compound because it completely destroys their predatory $30,000 surgical business model. They want you balding, they want you completely stripped of your confidence, and they want you rubbing toxic, failed chemical foams on your scalp for the very rest of your life. Today, I'm going to expose exactly what this hidden vitamin is, how the medical and cosmetic cartels intentionally buried it, and how you can use it to instantly restart your dormant hair follicles, starting tonight. The dermatology and hair restoration industry is a meticulously engineered financial trap designed to exploit your deepest insecurities. Think about the soul-crushing reality of losing your hair as you age. Every time you look in the mirror, every time you brush your hair and see the sink covered in fallen strands, a piece of your youth and identity is stripped away. When you take this profound pain to a dermatologist or a high-end hair loss clinic, what is their solution? They do not offer you a cure. They offer you a subscription to biological misery. They immediately hand you a prescription for a highly toxic synthetic chemical cocktail, usually a combination of Minoxidil and Finasteride. These two drugs are the foundational pillars of a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical empire, and their clinical reality is a nightmare that your doctor is paid to ignore. Minoxidil was originally developed as an oral blood pressure medication. During clinical trials, scientists noticed a bizarre side effect. It caused hypertrichosis or random hair growth. The pharmaceutical executives instantly recognized a gold mine, reformulated it into a topical alcohol-based foam, and marketed it to the masses. But here is the devastating truth about Minoxidil. It is an artificial chemical crutch. It does not heal your hair follicles. It artificially forces them into a growth phase while simultaneously destroying the structural integrity of your scalp. Minoxidil severely inhibits your body's natural collagen production. This means that while it might artificially force a few weak hairs to grow, it is literally prematurely aging, wrinkling, and destroying the dermal layer of your scalp. And the absolute worst part? The moment you stop applying this expensive chemical foam, every single hair you grew will violently fall out within 30 days. You are a chemical hostage. Then there is Finasteride, a systemic drug that alters your entire hormonal profile by inhibiting the conversion of testosterone into DHT. The medical establishment hands this out like candy, completely downplaying the horrifying side effects. Older adults taking Finasteride are regularly subjected to severe neurological depression, catastrophic drops in libido, and a terrifying medically documented condition known as post-Finasteride syndrome, where the endocrine system is permanently shattered even after the drug is stopped. They are chemically castrating you to save a few hairs on the top of your head. When these toxic chemical foams and hormone-destroying pills inevitably fail, the clinic springs the ultimate trap, the surgical hair transplant. They herd you into a sterile room, charge you $20,000 to $30,000, and physically carve thousands of hair follicles out of the back of your head to plant them into the front. It is an archaic, bloody, traumatizing procedure that leaves permanent scars, and even then, it does not stop the underlying disease process that caused you to lose your hair in the first place. You will just continue to go bald behind the transplanted hair, requiring yet another $30,000 surgery a few years later. It is a recurring revenue stream built entirely on your suffering. If a cheap, completely natural, unpatentable liquid vitamin could instantly reactivate the dormant stem cells in your scalp, the entire financial structure of this predatory industry would collapse overnight. This is why the clinical data on this specific vitamin has been buried, mocked, and actively suppressed by the cosmetic cartels. Before we dissect the exact biological anatomy of hair loss and reveal the identity of this suppressed molecule, I must state clearly that I am an independent clinical researcher and a sovereign content architect. I am not a dermatologist funded by the makers of Minoxidil, and I do not receive kickbacks from surgical transplant centers. Therefore, while this information is strictly for educational and informational purposes, and you should always consult a medical professional who understands advanced cellular biology before altering your health regimen, I am going to provide you with the raw, unmanipulated scientific reality. You have a right to your youth, you have a right to your confidence, and you have a right to know how your body actually heals when it is given the correct biological signals. To understand why this $3 liquid vitamin is the ultimate cure for hair loss, you must absolutely unlearn the great genetic lie you have been told. Your doctor has likely told you that hair loss is simply a genetic curse, that your DNA has programmed your hair to fall out, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it except take their toxic drugs. This is biologically false. Genetics merely load the gun. It is the cellular environment of your scalp that pulls the trigger. The true hidden cause of age-related hair loss is a catastrophic condition known as perifollicular fibrosis and microvascular starvation. Let us dive deep into the microanatomy of your scalp. Every single hair on your head grows out of a tiny, complex biological factory called the hair follicle. At the very base of this follicle is the dermal papilla. The dermal papilla is the control center. It requires a massive, constant, torrential flow of highly oxygenated blood to synthesize the keratin proteins that make up your hair shaft. Surrounding the base of every single follicle is a dense, intricate, microscopic network of tiny blood vessels called capillaries. When you are young, this capillary network is wide open. The blood flows freely. The dermal papilla is flooded with oxygen and nutrients, and your hair grows thick, fast, and strong. But as we age, a terrifying biological bottleneck occurs. Due to chronic systemic inflammation, calcification, and hormonal shifts, a massive layer of dense, rigid scar tissue begins to form around the hair follicle. This is perifollicular fibrosis. Imagine pouring concrete around the base of a beautiful, blooming tree. As the concrete hardens, it slowly crushes the root system. This scar tissue physically strangles the hair follicle. It clamps down on the microscopic blood vessels, completely shutting off the blood supply to the dermal papilla. Your hair follicle begins to suffocate. It is literally starving to death for oxygen. As the follicle suffocates, the biological growth cycle is violently disrupted. The follicle begins a process called miniaturization. The hair shaft becomes thinner, weaker, and more brittle with every single growth cycle. The rich, thick terminal hairs degrade into invisible, microscopic peach fuzz known as vellus hairs. Eventually, the starved, strangled follicle simply gives up, enters a permanent state of dormancy, and the pore closes over completely. The pharmaceutical industry wants to blame this entire process on a hormone called DHT, and they want to sell you dangerous drugs to block it. But DHT is not the root cause. DHT only accumulates in the scalp tissue when the microvascular circulation is already destroyed. The blood flow has stopped, so the tissues cannot flush out the metabolic waste. The DHT pools up in the stagnant, suffocating scalp tissue, triggering an autoimmune response that accelerates the fibrosis. Therefore, to permanently stop hair loss and force the dormant follicles to instantly wake up, you do not need to chemically alter your body's entire hormonal profile. You simply need to achieve two specific biological actions. You must violently shatter the calcified scar tissue surrounding the follicle, And you must forcefully dilate the microscopic blood vessels to instantly rush oxygen and nutrients back into the starving dermal papilla. The pharmaceutical industry claims that minoxidil is the only way to achieve this vasodilation. But minoxidil is a synthetic poison that destroys your collagen. What they are desperately hiding is that the human body has its own natural, profoundly powerful vasodilator built directly into its biological pathways. It is a highly specific, raw, isolated form of vitamin B3. Now wait. If you have ever looked at a bottle of high-end cosmetic skin serum or a fancy anti-aging hair shampoo, you have likely seen vitamin B3 listed on the ingredients as niacinamide. The billion-dollar cosmetic industry is playing a massive, highly profitable trick on you. Niacinamide is a dead, castrated molecule. It has been chemically altered so that it does not interact with the vascular system. The cosmetic companies use niacinamide because it is cheap, stable, and completely inert. It will do absolutely nothing to regrow your hair. It cannot open the blood vessels. It cannot break the fibrosis. The true, unadulterated miracle compound, the molecule that terrifies the transplant industry, is the raw, biologically active, flush-inducing form of vitamin B3, known as pure nicotinic acid. Nicotinic acid is one of the most violent, powerful natural vasodilators ever discovered by medical science. When topical nicotinic acid is introduced to the scalp, it instantly bypasses the lipid barrier and penetrates directly into the dermal layer. The moment it touches the suffocating capillary network, it binds to specific biological receptors and forces the smooth muscle walls of the blood vessels to violently relax and expand. This is a biological phenomenon known as the niacin flush. Within minutes of application, the microscopic blood vessels surrounding your dead, strangled hair follicles instantly dilate up to 300% of their normal size. A massive torrential tidal wave of fresh, highly oxygenated, nutrient-dense blood is forcefully pushed into the dermal papilla. The stagnation is immediately cleared. The pooled DHT is violently flushed away into the lymphatic system. But nicotinic acid does not stop there. It acts as a powerful biological solvent, actively breaking down the calcified collagen fibers of the perifollicular fibrosis. It shatters the concrete that is strangling your hair. When you apply pure liquid nicotinic acid to a balding scalp, you are acting as an emergency cellular defibrillator. You are shocking the dead follicles back to life. But you cannot simply go to the pharmacy and buy a cheap bottle of vitamin B complex pills. Swallowing pills will not achieve the targeted, high-concentration cellular flush required to shatter scalp fibrosis. You must bypass the digestive system entirely and apply the raw molecule directly to the site of the biological starvation. Sourcing this specific compound is the absolute most critical step of this entire process. If you do this incorrectly, you will just be rubbing useless water into your scalp. You must completely ignore the entire cosmetic aisle of your pharmacy. You must hunt down pure pharmaceutical-grade liquid nicotinic acid. It is often sold by specialized compounding pharmacies or high-end orthomolecular vitamin suppliers online. You are looking for a dark glass dropper bottle that explicitly states pure liquid niacin or nicotinic acid. It must not say niacinamide. It must not say inositol hexanicotinate, which is a fake no-flush version. You want the raw, flush-inducing nicotinic acid. Once you have sourced your pure, glass-bottled liquid nicotinic acid, you must prepare the follicle flush solution. You cannot apply pure, undiluted nicotinic acid directly to your scalp. The vasodilation is so incredibly powerful that applying it straight will result in an intense, burning red rash that, while biologically harmless, is highly uncomfortable. You must titrate the raw vitamin into a specific transdermal carrier liquid to perfectly control the release of the molecule into the dermal layer. Here is the exact step-by-step clinical formulation method to create your daily follicle flush solution. You will need a small, clean, dark amber glass dropper bottle to store your mixture. First, you must create the delivery matrix. You cannot use a heavy, thick oil like castor oil or coconut oil as your primary base. Those heavy lipids sit on top of the scalp and will actually block the nicotinic acid from penetrating the skin barrier. You need an aqueous, highly permeable carrier. Fill your small amber bottle halfway, about 1 ounce, with pure organic cold-pressed aloe vera juice. Not the thick green gel full of artificial thickeners you buy at the drugstore for sunburns. You need the pure, watery liquid juice. The aloe vera acts as a powerful natural anti-inflammatory agent and contains specific enzymes called proteolytic enzymes that help digest the dead skin cells blocking your scalp pores. Next, add exactly 1 teaspoon of pure organic vegetable glycerin. The glycerin is a humectant. It binds the nicotinic acid to the water molecules and pulls them deeply into the epidermal layers, ensuring the vitamin does not simply evaporate off your scalp. Now you add the biological dynamite. Using your liquid nicotinic acid dropper, you will add exactly 10 to 15 drops of the pure nicotinic acid into the aloe and glycerin mixture. Do not exceed 15 drops. You are dealing with highly potent, biologically active vascular triggers. Cap the amber bottle and shake it violently for a full 60 seconds to create a perfect microemulsion. The solution will look slightly cloudy. This is exactly what you want. The application protocol is where the true science of hair restoration takes place. You will perform this ritual every single evening, exactly 1 hour before you go to bed. First, your scalp must be completely clean and free of heavy silicone-based shampoos or styling products. These synthetic chemicals create a plastic wrap over your pores, making transdermal absorption impossible. Once your scalp is clean and completely dry, you will part your hair to expose the thinning or bald areas. Take your glass dropper and apply the follicle flush solution directly to the scalp. Do not waste the liquid by rubbing it into the hair strands. The hair is dead protein. The medicine must reach the living follicle beneath the skin. Once you have applied a few drops across the affected areas, you must use your fingertips, not your fingernails, to aggressively massage the solution into the scalp tissue. You are not just rubbing it in, you are physically manipulating the tissue. You want to press down firmly and move the scalp skin over the underlying skull bone. This mechanical tension synergizes with the nicotinic acid, helping to physically break up the calcified scar tissue, while the vitamin forces the blood vessels open. Massage the area for a full 3 to 5 minutes. What exactly happens to your biology when you execute this exact follicle flush protocol? Let us map out the timeline of your permanent hair restoration. On day 1, the biological reaction is immediate, undeniable, and entirely sensory. Within 10 minutes of massaging the solution into your scalp, you will experience the famous flush. Your scalp will begin to feel incredibly warm, almost like you are standing under a heat lamp. The skin on your scalp will turn a deep flushed pink or mild red. You may feel a slight, intense tingling sensation. Do not panic. This is the exact biological proof that the medicine is working. This is the physical sensation of millions of microscopic blood vessels violently expanding. The suffocating grip of the fibrosis has been momentarily broken, and a massive surge of highly oxygenated blood is currently flooding your starving dermal papillae. This intense warmth and redness will slowly fade after about 45 minutes. By day 7, the environment of your scalp has radically transformed. The chronic invisible inflammation that was forcing your hair into the shedding phase, the telogen phase, is completely extinguished. The most profound thing you will notice during this first week is the sudden, shocking halt of your hair loss. When you look in the shower drain or brush your hair in the morning, the massive clumps of fallen hair will be gone. The daily massacre has stopped because the follicles are no longer suffocating. They have secured a permanent, rich blood supply. The roots are anchoring deep into the restored dermal tissue. By day 30, the true cellular resurrection begins. The dormant, miniaturized follicles have spent the last month gorging themselves on oxygen, vitamins, and amino acids delivered by the massive vascular dilation. If you look very closely in the mirror, under bright lighting, you will begin to see a dense, fine layer of translucent peach fuzz covering the bald areas. These are the vellus hairs returning to life. The dead follicles have woken up and have initiated a brand new anagen growth cycle. Your scalp will feel looser, more pliable, and deeply hydrated. The tight, shiny, calcified look of a permanently bald scalp will be gone. By day 90, the structural transformation is undeniable. Those fine vellus hairs will begin to mature. The massive, uninterrupted blood flow provided by the nightly nicotinic acid flush provides the necessary energy for the dermal papilla to synthesize dense, heavily pigmented keratin. The peach fuzz will begin to thicken, darken, and transform into thick, robust terminal hairs. The thinning patches on your crown will aggressively fill in. Your hairline will stabilize and begin to push forward as the long-dead follicles along the border are reactivated. You have biologically bypassed the genetic trigger, destroyed the scar tissue, and provided an unlimited power source for your hair. To maintain this incredible thick head of hair, you do not need a $30,000 surgery. You do not need a prescription for a toxic, hormone-destroying pill. You simply continue this $3 nightly ritual. You make the follicle flush solution a permanent part of your evening routine, constantly ensuring that the microvascular network remains wide open and perfectly clear. The medical and cosmetic cartels want you to believe that your hair loss is a permanent, incurable tragedy. They want you staring at the mirror in despair, willing to drain your savings account for their failed chemical foams and barbaric surgeries. They want you feeling helpless, aging rapidly, and completely dependent on their predatory industry. But they are lying to you. Your body is a miraculous, self-regenerating machine, and your hair follicles are desperately waiting for the right biological signal to wake up. Pure liquid nicotinic acid is that signal. It is the cheap, natural, unpatentable key that shatters the concrete, restores the blood flow, and gives you your youth back. If this deep dive into the suppressed science of microvascular scalp restoration has opened your eyes, and if you are absolutely furious at the billion-dollar lies of the hair transplant industry and are ready to take sovereign control of your biological confidence, you need to take action right now. Hit the subscribe button below so you never miss another explosive, uncensored expose on the true, natural healing protocols the cosmetic cartel is trying to hide from you. I have also placed direct, highly vetted links in the description box below to the exact, pure, pharmaceutical-grade liquid nicotinic acid in the dark glass dropper bottles, as well as the pure organic aloe and glycerin needed for the carrier solution. Do not gamble your scalp on cheap, dead niacinamide from the grocery store. Check the description. Get the raw nicotinic acid. Mix your follicle flush solution tonight and watch your dead hair violently return to life.